What's up? I'm Ashley, and we're going to be breaking down Severance, Season 2, Episode 3. And be sure to leave all your thoughts and theories down in the comments so we can talk about it. And with that being said, let's get into it. The episode starts off with Cobel asleep, parked on the side of the road, until she's woken up by a truck passing by. Looks like she spent the night there after nearly running over Mark the previous night. But before she starts to drive again, she turns on the song Love Spreads by the Stone Roses. The song challenges traditional views of Jesus and was inspired by Rosalind Miles's 1988 book, The Women's History of the World. We then see a picture of Gemma while Mark gets ready for work. And while he's on his way to work, he's rushing. He in a hurry. Before he gets out the car, he sets a timer on his watch to let him know how long it'll take for him to get out his car into Lumen. And from his car until he gets to his locker is a minute and 42 seconds. After that, he starts counting to himself until he gets inside the elevator, and just as he's about to say number 37 is when he turns to his any self. So that's about 2 minutes and 18 seconds from the car to the inside of the elevator. And once at work, Mark hands out Miss Casey flyers, and he puts everyone on a mission. He says him and Helly will look for the goats and other goat people, while Dylan looks inside the break room, and Irv O&D. But Dylan don't want to do it, talking about he's busy and trying to get out of it. And we find out why later. And Helena just keeps on proving more and more each week that she's not really Helly R. After Mark gives them their mission and tells them all what to do, she says, "Do you really think they're all gonna let us roam around?" The real Helly R would never say that, because she don't care.
You guys really think they're gonna let us roam around?
They said on the video.
And when she tried to comfort Irv, it was just so awkward. Even Irv was confused. I don't know about y'all, but I have a feeling that Irv is going to end up finding her out really soon. So just for fun, I'm going to call Helena Helly because it's easier to say. And it technically hasn't been revealed to us yet, even though it kind of already has. I'm just going to call her Helly. So while Helly and Mark are walking down the hallway to get to the ghost department, she's like, what if Miss Casey is there in a cage? What we going to do then? What's the plan? And Mark tells her that the plan is to get her to the south stairwell. And once they're out the door, his Audi would know what to do. Then they just stop and have this really weird stare down, like they both want to kiss each other, but don't. They're both scared to make the first move, and we all know Helly R would never be scared. We then see Milchek walking down the hallway as he spots the balloons he gave Mark, and he is mad, to say the least, and he's probably feeling really unappreciated. So he snatches the balloons and keeps on walking. We get to Irv and Dylan and MDR, where Irv tells Dylan he recreated the paintings he told him about, the ones his Audi has been working on, and he's thinking that the hallway may be down here, and that's probably why he's been having these dreams. He wants to go look for it, and he wants Dylan to go with him. But Dylan don't want to go. He told him, maybe you should go by yourself, for stealth. Irv said, for stealth. While he's telling him he can't explain, in comes Miss Wong. Irv made sure to show her his hall pass and walks out the door, while Miss Wong tells Dylan to come with her. As Milchek walks into his office, Natalie is right there waiting for him at the door, and she calls him Seth, which we don't hear much. But Natalie tells him she's on the phone with the board. She tells him the board wants to know if he feels appreciated and wants to know if he does. Milchek says he does. So that's when Natalie says the board wants you to feel connected to Lumen's history. And just listen to what she says to him.
Please accept from the board these inclusively recanonicalized paintings intended to help you see yourself in Kier, our founder.
When I saw those paintings, I said, what the? And why does Black Milchek have blue eyes? What he got blue eyes for? Rather Kier meant it or not, this was filled with racial undertones. Now why they gotta do Milchek and Natalie like that? Because remember, Natalie said they did this for her too. Natalie was just doing her job because she knows they're always watching, but I'm pretty sure she had a problem with this too. It seemed like Natalie and Milchek were talking to each other just with their eyes. Milchek looked livid, and he knew he couldn't say anything because he had to put on this act, and he knows that they're listening and watching. But this is the perfect example of the workplace wanting everyone to feel like family, but at the same time ignoring your needs. And it's also the perfect example when they say we don't see color. We get back to Cobel where she's still driving, and she comes up on this sign that says Salt Neck 238 miles. I don't know if this is her hometown or what, where she's trying to go or what, but she got 238 miles to go. She then looks down at the seat where there's this breathing tube that was worn by Charlie Cobel from the Kier Shrine back in season 1. It seems as though she's thinking about something, but then all of a sudden she just turns the car back around. We get back to Mark and Helly, and they finally make their way to the ghost department. But before they get inside, Helly says, "Is that it? Why you don't know, girl, if you're really Helly R? How you don't remember where the ghost department is?" But they do go inside and they make their way down the ghost door. And once they get inside, the room is full of goats. Ghosts everywhere. There's even a man dressed up as a goat. And I'm like, what's all that about? We meet Gwendolyn Christie's character, Lauren, who comes over a hill saying, "Are you here to kill me?" Mark and Helly introduce themselves and says, "No, we just want to know what this place is."
What is this place? Mammalians nurturable.
They show her a picture of Miss Casey and tell her she was from the wellness department, but she tells them her department never heard of the wellness department because they don't abide by the standards of health and wellness. Mark wants to know if she's seen Miss Casey because she still hasn't answered that part, but now she feels threatened by this and she starts ringing her little bell. And that's when all her little friends come out. The goats and the rest of the department are me mugging Helly R and Mark. They look mad, they dirty, they look hungry. They don't want no little snacks from the vending machine. They want a real meal. But they don't even know no better. They severed. Helly R tries to show everybody Miss Casey's photo, but Lauren says stop that. She don't want the photo to be seen. So then that's when Mark starts making this speech about how if they continue to let this happen, then what would stop Lumen from taking one of them? If one of your goats went missing, wouldn't you go out looking for them? And this got her thinking. So after this whole speech, she does finally admit that Miss Casey did come to visit them and describes her as gentle. The one dressed like a ghost said, she said, "My Audi excels at stargazing." And that meant a great deal to him. And you can kind of sense that everyone around felt the same way. She tells them they always thought she was retired, like they were told, but if they think something else is going on, they won't get in the way of their search. But before they go, they all want to see their bellies. When Mark and Helly shows them, she says, "See? Pouchless." This is referring back to season 1 when Bert told Irv the other departments thought that MDR had pouches that contained larvae, and eventually the larva eats and replaces them. Irv makes his way to O&D where he finds Felicia. They reminisce about Bert and she tells him she worked with Bert for 6 years and only saw him scared one time. And that was when he spent 2 hours on his hair for the first time he went to visit you. He hands her a book of drawings he drew of Bert, and as she's flipping through the pages, she ends up finding his drawings of the testing floor. She said, "How do you know about the exports hall?" She tells him they would send a lot of shipments there and how they used to go themselves, but now they send some guy. He asked her, "Do you know where it is? So we could be seeing them take a trip there real soon." But we finally have a name for the testing floor elevator. We know it's the export hall. But who is this man she's talking about? And could it be the man that we saw in the hallway spying on Mark in episode 1? Now back to Dylan. While Miss Wong has Dylan following her through the hallway, Dylan is asking her, is it rude to keep asking, why are you a kid? And are you okay? She brings him to the security room, which also gets a makeover just like the break room. When he walks inside, there's a wall with pictures of him and his wife, and it looks a little creepy too. Then all of a sudden walks out his wife, Gretchen. Miss Wong tells him because of good behavior and output, he earned an 18-minute visitation event with his Audi's wife. Dylan already knew this was planned, which is why he didn't want to go along with Irv's plan. He was like, "I'm not trying to mess up my visitation rights. I'm on good behavior." And the whole encounter was just awkward. He's like, "You really don't know me at all?" He's like, "No. Besides the photos on the wall, no." I mean, they still have the pictures flashing on the wall. Take it off. When Gretchen calls Mr. Milchek Seth by his first name, is when Miss Wong butts in and says, reframe information that may be privileged or sensitive. Dylan asks Gretchen, am I in trouble? She tells him no and lets him know they have 3 kids and that her outie husband has trouble keeping a job. And this is his reply.
He dumb?
No,
He a dick?
no.
What is wrong with him?
She tells him nothing's wrong with him, he just never quite found his thing. So Dylan says, so he's a F up. She don't even know how to respond, so she doesn't because she's probably thinking, yeah, that's true. So instead shows him a picture of their kids. She says Jim is 6, Ruth is 4, and Merrick just turned 2. I thought it was interesting that the picture she chose to show him is one of those where you dress up at a photo booth in a costume. So Dylan, being a normal any, he's like, we live on a cattle ranch, and from the look Gretchen gives him after he says this, gives me the feeling she's going to end up falling for any Dylan. But then Miss Wong walks in and tells them their time is up. They hug and say their goodbyes. Dylan says he's going to make the family proud. Gretchen says, I love you, and Dylan responds with, oh, because he don't even know her. He said, oh. We then jump to Audi Dylan at home with his family. His kids are watching TV while Gretchen is getting ready to leave for work. She's dressed as if she's probably a security guard or a police officer. She reminds Dylan of all the things he has to do for the kids while he's just on the couch chilling. From this, I get the feeling that she always has to remind him what to do and he still doesn't do it. Which is why, even more, I have a feeling she's going to end up falling for his innie. But if you notice on the table, there's pineapples. And so far, we've seen pineapples in every episode. I don't know if this is from his gift basket Milchek gave him or if they just be having pineapples in the house. Now, this was unexpected. Rickon and Natalie Kalin, we find out her last name, are discussing Rickon's book because it was found on the severed floor when Devin walks in and sees them talking. I don't know if it was just me, but it seems like Natalie and Rickon were flirting a little bit. But Lumen wants to hire Rickon to make a new version of the book that would only be for the innies to read. Something is definitely up with that. But then we jump to Devin and Mark, where Devin is helping Mark with his side project to get his message through to his innie with the message, who is alive. To try to help his innie remember, he would need to see the after image, who is alive, engraved in his head for about 2.5 minutes. We see Milchek finishing up some work on the computer before he leaves out for the day. And before he leaves, he takes another look at the pictures that was given to him earlier that day. And he looks disgusted. He packs them up inside of a box and puts the box inside of a supply closet where no one can find it. Mark is parked outside of what seems to be some kind of an abandoned building, practicing to see just how long the words who is alive can be engraved in his head. We cut to Helena leaving work with Miss Cobel waiting for her outside. Cobel tells her if she comes back to work, then they have to accommodate her needs, which is her being the manager of the MDR department again. She says Mark is so close to completing Cold Harbor, whatever that is. So she intends to finish the work that she started. Helena tells her all she hears is ego, and Cobel says, well, I wasn't born into my position, like you. Helena says, we didn't have to ask you back. Cobel says, you had no choice. So what that mean? So then Helena calls Natalie to set up a meeting with the board for Cobel. When she hangs up, she says, let's go speak to them together. So as they're walking back to the building, all of a sudden, Cobel stops dead in her tracks. And she looks terrified when she sees this man who looks like he could be Helena's bodyguard. But we don't really know who this man is. But Cobel is scared of him. She turned around so fast, got back in her car, and drove off. So now I'm thinking, is this the man Felicia was talking to Irv about? And is he the man we saw in episode 1 who was spying on Mark when he just got out the elevator? We get back to Mark, who's still practicing, then all of a sudden there goes Wagabi in the front of his car. She tries to get inside, but the door is locked. She says, open the door. Open this door, Mark. But he didn't want to. He said, why? But then he went ahead and did it. She tells him that all that practicing is not going to work. She tells him he could go blind and says, how was the innie going to send you a message back? He said, I don't know. That's his problem. She begins to tell him, I heard about the OTC, and do you know your wife is still alive at Lumen? He said, who told you that? Is she still alive? She tells him she was the last time she saw her. And she never told him because they were interrupted because of Grainer. She then offers to perform the reintegration process on him and tells him that it's not as bad as it was before when she performed it on Petey. She tells him, I can sew together a version of you that loves her with a version of you that can, and before she can even finish her sentence, he says, yes, do it. And since she wasn't able to finish her sentence, makes me think that there may be some kind of repercussions involved. So then we see Ragabi setting up the process in Mark's house. She's hooking up Mark to all these wires connected to his head and explaining to him the differences between the monitors and what they all do to his brain.
The monitors differentiate the 5 brainwave frequencies of the innie and outie: delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma. 1 frequency, 2 waves per oscilloscope. Waves aren't in sync. Not yet, anyway. That's what we're here to do.
She starts off asking him questions that's simple, then end up being more complicated for him to remember. When she asked him, what is your first memory? He can't remember. Then all of a sudden, we see him waking up on the table with Petey asking him, who are you? And that's the end of the episode. But I want to point out the bottom of Mark's shoes. I think it's no coincidence that it's blue and kind of resembles a raindrop. There's been multiple theories surrounding the color blue and water and all that, so I don't think it's a coincidence. But y'all let me know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments so we can talk about it. And if you haven't already and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.